Today we're taking a look at a highly anticipated disc, one that has yet to even get a full stock release, but has just kind of been trickling into the disc golf world, and that is the Discraft Zone SS. This run is in the Jawbreaker Z-Flex plastic, a special edition for the PDGA World Championships, which are taking place just down the road from me in Columbia, Missouri. I'm a huge fan of the Discraft Zone, one of the best overstable approach discs of all time. Will the Zone SS live up to that illustrious legacy? I don't know. I've only thrown it a couple times, so I'm going to be finding out how it flies right alongside you guys in today's episode right now. We're going to be comparing the Zone SS to my Brian Earhart Z Swirl Zone. I think this was the 2020 Tour Series run. I've been using it for a long time, but it's still plenty overstable, exactly what you'd want a zone to be. In hole one, this is Holt Summit, Missouri, a course I have not played in years, super technical, very wooded, great for overstable approach discs. And this hole is a 180-foot par 3 downhill. We're going to start with the Z Swirl Zone, put it out on a little bit of hyzer. Hole bends off just a little bit to the left, elevated basket. See how it works out. And that's exactly what you want out of a zone. Goes straight for a bit, then we get a big fade at the end. Super reliable disc. Like the Zone shot, we're gonna go Zone SS on just a little bit of hyzer. It's not a very hard throw, but it's pretty typical of what you'd expect from an approach style shot. All right, holding pretty straight. Mild fade. Definitely did not want to get to the ground as fast as that zone did. So we way overshot the basket with both of our shots here. Everything kind of just filters into this ravine at the bottom of this hill here. Now, the SS discs, you might be familiar with already. The Nuke SS versus the Nuke, Buzz SS versus the Buzz. SS stands for super straight. Oh, frick! We almost ring up. The first part of the day is a circle 2 and we almost nab it. Anyways, the super straight version of discs, the SS, typically are pretty understable compared to their normal counterparts. Discs like the Avenger SS, Nuke SS, pretty darn understable. The Buzz SS, it's a little understable, not like super understable though. Same with the Challenger SS. So I'm pretty curious, when you start off with a disc that's already pretty overstable, like the Zone, which has numbers 4, 3, 0, 3, where does that leave our SS version? Is it going to be truly understable, straight, still a little bit overstable? I'm like 90% sure the Zone SS does not have numbers yet. Did some research, couldn't find any. We're going to make our own, which is the way it should be anyways. 220-foot par 3, all uphill. Basket is just a little bit tucked in to the left. Z-Zone. You can see plenty of fade there. That's going to be a really solid shot. Zone SS. Yeah, it's got that fade, but that's very mild. I'd almost say maybe this is like a 0.1 to 1.5 fade so far. It's not turning over on me, but it's also floating, just kind of floating to the basket for a lot of the flight. We got to do a lot more testing though. And we got two wonderful shots here. Zone SS off to the right. Zone underneath the basket. Now in theory, one of the best things about the SS discs is that you get the same hand feel of the disc you love, but a more understable flight. You can pair them together, use them both. Pretty sick. So in my opinion, there's two aspects of the Zone hand feel that Discraft really has to nail with the Zone SS for it to be a successful version of the original Zone. Number one is that the vast majority of zones you find in the wild board flat. And the second thing is a very shallow hand feel. I think when you combine those two attributes, you get a hand feel that, especially on the forehand, a lot of people like. And I'm happy to report that Discraft did an awesome job maintaining these two key attributes with the Zone SS. Super flat and maybe even a little bit shallower than the original Zone. Very, very similar hand feels. You can notice that it has a lower wing and parting line. So I think Discraft did an awesome job with that. Well done. Bit of a weird hole here. We're gonna play this one to the yellow basket. You got these two trees right in front of the tee pad. So you're gonna have to pick right, left. You could split the middle, go in between. Probably not gonna do that. 183 feet does end on an uphill slope. I think we're gonna go to the left and maybe do a little bit of flex. Flat, just a little bit of flex with both of these. See what happens. Starting with original Zone. A little bit of flex, comes out. Nice. Nestles right up in there. Now let's try to do similar line with Zone SS. Yeah, same thing. Doesn't fight out. We get this very similar flight, but where the Zone wanted to fight out at the end, Zone SS held that subtle Anheuser line the whole way out. And we got two park jobs here. Z-Zone here, Zone SS back here. The vibe I'm getting so far is that where the Zone will start fading, typically around like 70% of the way through the flight for me. The Zone SS is more like fade at that 90% point. A little bit of overstability, but it's gonna push longer before you start seeing that fade. 309 foot par 3 bends off to the left. We're just gonna throw them hard and hopefully get to the left at the end. Zone should have no problems. Zone SS, we'll find out. Start with Z-Zone. Hold straight, and then you see that fade at the end. Very reliable fade. Now let's go, Zone SS. Look how straight that's going. Just a little baby fade at the end. Let's take a second to compare that to the Axiom tempo. When Discraft announced the Zone SS, I saw a lot of people online immediately think tempo, which makes sense because the tempo, it's an overstable approach disc, but it does have a milder fade than the Zone. But as someone who throws the tempo a ton, I think the tempo is way closer to the Zone as far as it still has a hefty bit of fade at the end. And funnily enough, my Zone and tempo landed literally side by side, just inches apart, whereas the Zone SS went way straighter. Now we're gonna do just a little kind of pitch upshot here on the forehand. We want to fade right, so we're gonna put this on a little bit of hyzer. There we go. This time, going to the pink basket, 245 foot par 3 bends off to the right, downhill off this like cliff side. The play is definitely forehand, and we will be forehanding, starting with Z-Zone. There we go, a little bit of hyzer, and it fades out plenty. Let's go hyzer with Zone SS. Now I'm not gonna pretend like I have a clean forehand, but that flipped all the way up. My forehand is not a strength, so I kind of need to lean on more overstable discs typically. Got to be a little bit more careful with it on the forehand. Not super successful with the Zone SS, but the Zone had the overstability, got to the right on the forehand for 25 foot putt. And nowhere close. This course is freaking sick. I love how much elevation change there is out here. Let's play this to the longs, get an approach in here. 388 foot par 4, straight up the gut. Lots of trees. That's a theme with this course. I think we're just gonna try to flex the Zone to the left of this first tree, to the right of that second tree. A little bit of Anheuser, come back, starting with Z-Zone. Anheuser flexes out. Now let's try similar line with Zone SS. Holds the line pretty much the whole way. We hit the tree. It was about to fight out at the very end of that line, but was holding the Anheuser for a while. Let's try to go Zone SS into the green. You can probably make out yellow basket through this corridor. See, it just floats, a little bit of fade at the end. Again, we didn't throw it very hard because we weren't throwing very far, and that's when you start to see the overstability of this disc. Whereas in those instances where I throw it harder, pretty much just straight the whole flight. Now we got a edge of circle look here. See if we can ring it up. Very cool hole here. 164 foot par 3 on the ledge. Base run central. Here we go. Let's try out Zone SS. Oh, I love it. Again, a little bit of fade at the end. Oh, we get the favorable tree for the park job. Honestly, it was a lot harder for me to pin down the numbers on the Zone SS than what I thought it would be. Maybe I'd give it like a 4, 4, negative 0.5 if we're allowing 0.5s in the conversation. 1.5 fade. It's kind of a weird disc. There's really not many discs that fly like this. And that's very rare for me to say because I'm very transparent about the fact that the disc golf industry is just a bunch of companies stealing each other's ideas. But when I think of other approach discs, like, yeah, the tempo comes to mind, but honestly, the tempo is noticeably more overstable than this Zone SS. I really feel like when I was throwing the Zone SS under 200 feet, I was seeing the fade at the end. But anytime I wanted to go like over 200 feet, if I gave it any amount of juice, really straight flight with maybe just a hint of a checkup at the end, but really minimal fade in those circumstances. I think it'll be really useful for just those little baby flick approaches where you don't actually want it to fade at the end, but you do want to use that overstable approach disc because of the really comfortable forehand grip. That's what this disc has, and I feel like that's one of its greatest strengths. When it comes to the Jawbreaker Z-Flex plastic, I didn't love it in last year's Tour Series. In general, I just don't really love super flexible discs. I feel like this, while it has flex, isn't like stupidly gummy like some premium soft discs are, but of course still looks like someone vomited sprinkles all over the plastic. But it is unique. You have to give it that. So if you're excited to get your hands on the Zone SS, let me know down below in the comments. Also let me know down below what approach discs you're using, especially on the forehand. For those like straight forehand shots, I guess like a Jawbreaker Zone could do the trick if it's beat in. Probably has a very similar flight to this. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. We are so close to 3,000 subscribers. You can also follow me on UDisc community at Flying Fajita or Instagram at Flying Fajita Disc Golf. As always, guys, I love you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.